Corinne, there's a rumor on the street that you got married to Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh. You know what? There's actually video evidence. So I don't know if that's a rumor or not. It was by someone who was licensed and ordained. So I think it's official.
So it's official. Sorry, Brian.
I know. All we're missing is just the paperwork from the court. But
yes,
you know,
the marriage license. Yeah.
It's an unlawful. It's technically bestiality. So I don't think it would ever go through.
Yeah. Although, like, we don't really know what Bigfoot qualifies as.
True. I mean, it's still some sort of intercreature situation. A little shape of water. Anyway. Yeah. We had our live show, which is what we're referring to.
And there's a TikTok which we posted of the marriage.
Of the marriage. Oh, did you post it already? I'll have to look.
No, I will. But by the time this is out, it will be posted.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, another 2 episodes will have come out by the time that we did the show. Because we had to prepare a few episodes in advance for me to fly out and for us to be together. So this is actually the first one. Although it's coming out 2 weeks after. This is the first time we're recording since the show.
The live show. Also, this is your birthday episode. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. I forgot.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Corinne. That's not even all to the birthday tune. I just made it my own thing.
I like it.
Happy birthday.
Oh my God. I almost said I'm 30. I'm not. It's next year.
You're not. You have a full year. So Corinne, don't age yourself.
I'm ready to be 30. My mom always says the 30s are the best decade of your life. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, but don't age yourself more than you need to. Take your time. Okay. Enjoy the 20s. This is your last year of 20.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, it's my birthday. And then it's our anniversary of the podcast, not of our friendship, but very close to our friendship. I think our friendship anniversary is basically like a few days after your birthday, which is
end of August.
End of August, which is right after your birthday. August is our month. There's so much going on.
It is. Yes.
This is 2 Girls, 1 Ghost.
2 Girls, 1 Ghost. Where am I again? I forgot. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hi.
And I am Sabrina. And it is Corinne's 29th birthday episode, which you know what that means. In honor of her recent nuptials.
Yes.
It is cryptid themed.
Hell yeah. Wait, can I also say that when we were doing our live show, which was a digital experience, so the only people that were in the room were your husband, Nick, and then our friend Nico, who designed the set for us.
Yes.
Which wasn't a set at all. We were totally in the forest. What do you mean?
In the
There
woods.
was nothing fake about it.
We were camping.
We were
outside.
camping. But I was watching the video back. And I was like, why do I look so awkward? Am I a really awkward person? And I realized I look really, really shifty-eyed because they were on opposite sides of the small room we were in the opposite corners. And so every time I looked at them, I would look like way over here and then I'd look way over here. And it made me look so shifty because I wasn't moving my head.
And then the cameras were in front of us. So we were like, which one do we look at? Which one is ours?
You did a good job of looking in the camera. Every time I thought I was looking in the camera, I was looking in the wrong one. I don't know.
It's like those like the auditions for news anchors, and they're looking at the wrong camera, and it's just
I know.
It's hard.
Or the weather. Did you ever go to the news station when you were younger? Was that like a school trip you guys did? Oh, I don't know why we did.
You did.
But we did.
That sounds fun.
And we got to go in front of the green screen that they do the weather in front of. And it's opposite, which I don't understand how people ever get used to this. But basically, when you're looking at the screen, you want to go like, oh, and the weather is, and the channel's going here, and the moves of the clouds that was barely English. But you understand how flustered and turned around you have to do everything opposite. And it's like backing up a car.
This is why we are podcasters.
Yep. Here we are.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody. We're here.
Howdy doody.
Oh, Sabrina. I've mentioned this a few times too. I went to the Cannibal Museum down in San Diego. And I am not going to spend
and you're a
this
convert.
whole episode.
You left it deciding to be.
It's almost like they want you to leave doing that, though. I am not a cannibal, nor will I ever become a cannibal, I think.
Unless you need to survive, sure.
Right, yes. The weird thing about the museum, it's very fascinating. It took me a really long time to get through it because I was reading every single plaque, every single station, every single piece of paper. But what's interesting is when you walk in, they basically have a section that's dedicated to cannibalism appearing in television and film and radio. And so you see kind of how the media had picked it up. And then you're almost in it's not really like a waiting room, but before you get into the main section where you can kind of like move around the entire museum, there's this video set up and there's this woman and she's speaking. And I don't know what they were trying to get across, but basically the way that she strung her sentences together and the message that she was trying to give, I think was supposed to say, you have to understand that cannibalism is a part of some people's practices and is used basically by like white colonizers over time to demonize certain groups of people and like misunderstandings and whatnot. But the way that she said it was like, wouldn't you want to be a cannibal? Like, there's nothing wrong. Cannibalism, ha ha ha. It's a part of the human experience. Let's all just eat each other. And I was like, oh my God, what are we entering? But it was interesting. It was interesting.
Well,
for
wasn't
sure.
it back in like the 1800s when people would die of like random diseases? They would have you eat a part of their bodies to try to.
Oh.
They believed it was like a superstition, and if you had it, and I'm probably totally butchering this, but I remember it being one of the lore podcast / TV show episodes, and they would grind up the like liver or the heart or whatever it was, and then you were supposed to digest it of the deceased being so that like you didn't get what they got.
I think so, which we are not in medicine. But I feel like they were onto something because that's vaccine. What we do now with vaccines, right? Like we take the dead version of a virus and bacteria and shoot it into ourselves.
2% facts. 1% facts? What are we again?
1% history.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
This is but 1% true. 1% history and 2% facts.
And 2% milk.
Whole milk, baby. Okay.
Ew.
You are on to something, though. So the museum itself was very fascinating. I won't. Okay. Everyone should go, I think, if you have the opportunity.
And everyone should be cannibals is what we're learning.
But I brought
everyone an Army Hammer.
prescriptions back from the museum with me, which is similar to what you were saying. So there's this one station towards the end of the museum where they have this sort of like apothecary dresser set up. And there's these sliding slots on the top. So on the first slot, it basically says, what is your age? And it gives you like the age range. And there's some other things. It's like, what are your problems? So you're like lack of sleep or stress or
where do I start?
Allergies. Yeah. So you slide all of these things. I think there's 5 questions and you slide them all. And then it basically gives you have to tally up the number. And based on the number, you get a prescription.
So it's like a 17 magazine quiz, but then you get what part of body do you eat?
Yes.
Great.
So I grabbed the prescriptions because we were allowed. I didn't steal them. And it does say this is not an actual prescription, but I would argue there is a doctor's signature on the bottom. So I think
pretty legit.
That I'm going to head on over to CVS after this and say, please give me some mummy dust. But I want to read them to you.
Turn this in, please.
Okay, ready? So I should have recorded what would make you take these certain prescriptions or why you would want to be prescribed this. But I did not write that down. So I'm just going to read you these 5 prescriptions and basically how to use them. Mummy dust. Made from historical mummies or recently mummified corpses. You take it orally as needed to reduce bruising and improve overall health. Skull moss.
Because it's easy to get your hands on a mummy.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. They didn't specify what type of mummy. So is this like a mummified cat? A mummified falcon?
Corinne.
Sorry. I'm just thinking of ancient Egyptians, you know?
But those are even more, as if that's even more accessible.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I don't know. But
Although it did say recently mummified.
Recently mummified.
Would you like to come see my mummified bodies collection down in my basement?
Just, ew, you just like crack a finger off, grind it up, put it in capsules, encapsulate it, and just, here you go. Shoot it back. Forget your wheatgrass. Just take some mummified corpse, baby.
These are my supplements.
Okay, there's skull moss. It's a fungus that grows on skulls left outdoors, which is similar. You were talking about the body farm the other day. So I'm like, here it is. Scrape off the fungus. You snort it to stop your nosebleeds, or you can apply it to wounds to stop bleeding. Not what I will be keeping in my little witchy
Who came
corner.
up with these?
Humans. The same people who decided to eat other people came up with this. Powdered human flesh. You take it orally for diarrhea. I feel like this gives you diarrhea. What the hell? And you can mix it with ointment for hemorrhoids.
Okay.
Very focused on the booty, this powdered human flesh is. Okay, 2 more. Fresh blood, preferably taken from a young, healthy man who recently died a swift and violent death. Oh my God.
And violent. Wow,
I know.
That's really specific.
I don't understand. But you take it orally as needed to restore health and prolong life, which I'm like, interesting. You're trying to prolong your life.
It's kind of like blood transfusions.
Sure. I guess, or you know, the classic, the evil witch or whatever sucks the soul of younger living people to restore their youth.
Yeah.
And the last one is human fat. You can rub it on affected areas to ease aches and pains.
So if anyone's tried any of these, I don't know what you call them, medications.
Yes, these prescriptions, these acts of cannibalism, let us know. And we will report you to the authorities.
Okay, to be fair, the the fungus off of the skull, which is super disturbing, and also like where are you finding these skulls and why do you have them accessible, is less cannibalism, right? Because that's a fungus. That's like having mushrooms.
True. I mean, yeah, I guess to your point, it's just growing off of the skull. So it's not the skull. So what's the difference between that? Where's the line between that and, let's say, taking a relative or a loved one's ashes and putting them underneath your orange tree and then eating those oranges, right? The nutrients are all being absorbed into the product after.
I kind of always think about this, like, just with how much dust and bacteria and debris is in the world, we're kind of always ingesting like skin flakes or hair follicles. And then when you're swimming in the ocean, you're kind of swimming in a mass grave because the amount of people whose bodies have been dumped in the ocean, the amount of fish and sea animals who are dead and their carcasses are floating in the ocean, the amount of like fecal matter and pee that is in the ocean. You're just kind of...
We're always cannibalizing. Basically.
We are the video at the end of the museum now.
We all do it. Come on, man. You're a cannibal. I'm a cannibal.
Cannibals.
We're all cannibals here. The new VeggieTales.
That should be the name of this episode.
Cannibalism.
Accidental
cannibalism. Okay, but to your point, there's actually the very, very last thing in the museum is basically this whiteboard with magnets where you have to say where you draw the line, what you consider cannibalism and what you don't. So examples of that are dust. Do you consider smelling and accidentally breathing in people's skin, dead skin cells, cannibalism? Or another example would be if you cut yourself and you lick it. Are you cannibalizing yourself because you're technically ingesting your own blood?
Because you're ingesting your blood.
What about people who bite their nails or eat their boogers? It's all part of the human body. Produced by us.
It's recycling.
It's recycling. For all you vegans out there, stop doing those things. Cannibalism.
Stop breathing.
Stop.
Basically.
Basically. It was interesting. Anyway, this is my birthday episode, so I wanted to talk about cannibals and cryptids.
We can do whatever you want to do.
Trying to see who's first.
Me.
Oh.
I'm first.
You're first? I get to sit back and relax and enjoy the tale of the cryptid you chose?
Yes, it's kind of perfect. And, I was going to talk about, and it's funny, I was like doing a bunch of research on this other entity, and I was really excited to tell you about it because I was like, and I had this whole intro of like, now that you and Bigfoot are married, you're going to have to get to know these ancestors and like the whole extended family. But then I was like, what? We talk about Bigfoot a lot. And I know you love Bigfoot. And actually, I wanted to talk about this. So at our live show during our meet and greets, we were asking everyone this one question. And it was, if you can go on a date with any paranormal entity or creature, cryptid, whatever it is, what would it be?
Mm-hmm.
And the winner
yes.
I don't know why I have to open it because I already know the winner. But I
know
guess
too.
Maybe I'll show people. Mothman.
It was
the winner was
so funny.
Mothman.
Because
it was so close. Bigfoot was second runner up. It was so close. But yeah, Mothman won.
There were so many suggestions too, or so many choices that people made. Some people said like vampires and mer people and kelpies and just all of these other cryptids.
Goblins.
Right. But I think
my favorite was Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Oh
my gosh, I loved that one. I think what I found most interesting was that the majority of people offered up an answer, but every single person who said Mothman gave a full explanation as to why they chose Mothman.
And we kind of both agreed by the end. We're like, oh, Mothman's actually really romantic. It's like take a ride on his magic carpet ride. It's his wings. It's like having a private jet at all times. You can beat the traffic. And
you watch the sunset from the top of the bridge.
Yeah. And he's chiseled.
Cut. Yeah.
Got a really good bod. Yeah.
Got that bod.
It made a lot of sense.
It did. We understood. We converted very quickly. After I think the third person, we were like,
we're converts.
All right, we're scratching at our own answers. We're putting Mothman too.
Mothman.
Yay, baby.
This is, okay, two things we've now converted to. Cannibalism and Mothman in this episode.
Oh, how we've changed. It's about to be our 5-year anniversary. Is this the shift that we make? Is this how we freshen up the show?
Yeah, we were wondering, how do we spice things up? But maybe it's not the seasoning we need to change. Maybe it's the content that we're consuming.
Or the seasoning by using mummy dust and skull moss and powdered human flesh. We're going to have
I am going to
eat with
change all of the labels on my spices to like mummy dust and just like weird things that only I know what they actually are.
Actually, this is such a good idea for Halloween decor, right? Getting a little sticker that you could take off and you just transfer it over. Or I guess you don't have to put it on your spices that you actually use. But I think it's a good
But that's
good decor.
Fun. It's a little like, ooh, what am I putting on my dish today? I don't know. Okay. So during these meet and greets, we were introduced to a new entity by our listener, Kim. And it is called a Manananggal. And I was like, we gotta find out. Because Kim was very quick about answering and was like, oh, okay, the Manananggal, because it can separate the lower part of its body and just like eat people with like the tongue and stuff. And we were both look at her, at Kim, and we're like, what? You want to go on a date with this?
And but also, we were like, Kim, can you please spell this so we could write it down? Yes.
And so let me spell it for you. Manananggal. This shit is Manananggal.
Perfect.
Manananggal. Okay. Trigger warning, this episode does contain stories that involve potential gruesome infant death. Listen at your own risk. So naturally, I was very intrigued, and I was like, I'm going to look into this and do a deep dive and tell you, Corinne, about this entity for your birthday. So the Manananggal is an old and a very, very old mythical creature from the Philippines. It is described as scary and hideous, with the capability to sever its upper torso, sprout huge bat-like wings to fly into the night and search for victims, which are often infants and men.
Yikes. That is scary. The wings immediately, part of me was like, oh, Mothman. Now I'm like fantasizing about that after all of our listeners said that. But then I'm like, okay, all of the other parts, horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, picture this like half woman human creature truly like severed off, like belly and legs separated. So like I'm just imagining organs like hanging out of the stomach while these huge bat wings are flying it.
Nastiness. Ew. Oh, I hate in movies where someone gets a horrible injury and they pull out all of the intestines.
Their intestines.
That's nasty. And that's what I'm picturing. I'm just picturing like tubes of intestines, just like a whole plumbing system just dangling from the upper torso. System. Nasty.
Yeah, and they are long. Okay. So, yes. Intestines hanging out.
Ugh,
the Manananggal is a female vampiric entity and is known as a Filipino aswang, which basically means an evil spirit that is vampiric, cannibalistic, and a witch that eats and sucks blood from her victims.
Okay.
Her name is derived from the word tanggal, which means to separate, so very literal in that way. And before I get into the encounters and stories of, ooh, you are really struggling, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think
You're really thinking about the organs.
Yeah, I'm trying to not think about them now. Imagine if on my birthday I make myself faint. I'm okay. Keep going. I just got to think about other things. Don't worry.
Okay.
If I fall, I don't have far to go.
I won't. Yeah, that's true. And I won't talk about the organs hanging out for a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the origin first. So there are a bunch of different accounts as to the origin of the Manananggals. And in terms of origin, I mean like how does the Manananggal become the Manananggal? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the traditions believe that like any human, woman, it's mostly female, can become a Manananggal. The same way like a vampire can turn another vampire into one by not fully killing them but biting them. So there's one tradition that says that there is a black chick, like a baby bird, living inside the person, and it is passed on from the deathbed of those afflicted onto another person, usually familial. So it's like a tapeworm or a possession, if you think about it. And if someone's dying, it's a creature within the human body who's using that human, leeching off of them and their nutrients to then, become a vampire and fly off and kill its prey.
Of course.
Yes.
Logical.
So if I were to die and I had this chick inside of me, it would pass on to presumably my daughter, who doesn't not exist yet.
Kind of reminds me of the movie It Follows a little bit.
Yeah. It does have that. The chick resides in the body, eating the innards of the host while keeping you alive, but it needs more human blood and flesh to survive, which is why it takes the host's body and then manipulates them to find victims and feed its hunger.
Ooh.
Another legend says that one can become a Manananggal with a special ointment and an egg containing a black chick. You can chant a special incantation or spell and rub the ointment on your body while placing the egg in your armpit until it disappears. So egg, let's see, what can I hold here? Oh, okay, this kind of looks like an egg. Okay, so like this, and then you have a spell and like an ointment, which I'm sure is very specific and I don't know what it is, and you're doing all this
mummified human dust, I bet.
Yes, probably. And then you become a Manananggal. Another version of the folklore is this one's more similar to the vampire origin in the way that a vampire's bite can turn a human into a vampire. It's said that if the Manananggal does not kill its victim fully, they then can turn into a Manananggal themselves. Manananggal appear as beautiful women. They find their victims, luring them in with how normal they are and how beautiful they are. And it will then separate from the lower part of their body, organs and all hanging out. Their massive bat-like wings will emerge. Sharp teeth will eject out of their gums.
Oh my gosh.
And they will flick their tongue, which is no longer human. Instead, it will be replaced by a horrifically long and sharp tongue.
I'm picturing
very,
a
very
snake's tongue, but the fact that it says sharp, is it?
It's like
pointed?
A Mary Pop. You know those clown jokes where they're pulling things out of their mouth and it like just keeps going? It's like that version of a tongue.
Okay. The sharpness.
It's so long.
I'm curious about the shape at the end for it to be considered sharp. Or is it like tapered?
Apparently it's needle-like.
Okay. Kind of like a cat.
Cats aren't needle-like. Their tongues are rough.
Like needles. It hurts.
No.
Like little tiny spikes in their mouth.
No, it's like this tongue is like a pencil. I have a lot of props today.
I know you do.
And the tip would be very sharp like a needle.
Okay. Clomp, 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 clomp.
Okay. So it will take flight into the dark night. The beauty is gone. A hideous vampire-like creature has replaced what was beautiful.
It's interesting that it cocoons. The cocoon for it to become a vampire is almost scarier than the creature in the end, right? Because that's just like the way it morphs. Or is that the end result with the detachment and the guts coming out?
That's the end result.
Oh, okay. That's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. So some legends say that like as night falls, they can just turn into, like they separate from their bodies and then they sprout their wings, whatever. But then another version of the legend says that they have to rub an ointment, kind of like a witch or a spell or an incantation. They have to do like a ritual to turn into the Manananggal. But I do not know, nor do I really ever want to know. But while this description of a Manananggal seems like, oh, it'd be probably really easy to recognize them, at least, while they're hunting, there are other ways to sense their presence. So in some Philippine traditions, she is accompanied by a tick-tick, which is a bird, and they make the sound tick, 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 hence the name. And
not the same bird that you put the egg.
No, different bird.
Chicken versus a tick-tick. Different bird.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. So remember when I talked about El Silbón? I think it was, I wrote down episode 181. But you remember how like he would whistle that tune, and if it was closer to you, that meant he was actually further away. But if it was further away, same situation here with the tick-tick. If you hear the bird really close, it's said that the Manananggal is further away. But if it's far away, it said the Manananggal is close.
It's such an unfair characteristic of these horrifying like, paranormal creatures. Because you don't really know. It just messes with your head. Like, how are you
it's manipulating your reality.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yes. So it's also said that black cats and crows are also known to sense Manananggals, and they will act a certain way and like get stressed when they're approaching.
Two of our favorite creatures.
Yes. I
Crows
actually was just thinking about this recently. I desperately would, okay, not desperately, but if I couldn't own a cat, I think I would get a crow, like a black crow.
Yes,
crows and
ravens
are amazing.
They're so cool.
Thanks to Allie Ward and Ologies for that, because there was a whole episode about crows and I became obsessed with them.
I need to listen to that episode. I just like all of the videos on the internet of people befriending crows and how smart they are.
They're so smart.
Yes.
So smart. Okay. So once the Manananggal has completed her transformation and takes off in flight, with or without the tick-tick bird at its side, she will then go find her prey, which, keep in mind, if you're listening and paying attention, maybe you'll learn how to defeat the Manananggal before I even tell you. She leaves behind her bottom half in a secret place where they transformed. So that's like a very important thing. They can't bring their legs or the lower part of their body with them when they're going hunting.
And so the
she goes
Manananggal knows that it's about to turn into a Manananggal and then finds a secret place to morph. Okay, interesting. Oh, you know what? I just had a sad thought. It kind of reminds me of when certain animals, like dogs will even do this, where when they don't want to pass away in front of their loved ones. And so they'll run away into the woods or somewhere else to pass away.
This is more of like that's a very sad thing, but I think this is much more of a manipulative, I need to go somewhere secret to transform into this monster before I go kill people.
Okay. Because the bottom half, if it's found, would disrupt its monster behavior.
Someone's listening. Okay. So she will find her victim. And usually the thing is that Mononangals can exist in society in normal day. Like I was saying, they do groceries, they go grocery shopping, they, get their hair done, they do the normal things, they flirt with people. And so they usually find their victims during the day when they're doing their normal daily activities. And then, so at night, they take off in the Manananggal form and they settle upon the roof of their victim, of the target. Just like Santa Claus. But unlike Santa Claus coming down the chimney with gifts, the Manananggal comes through the roof with her tongue. She stays up on the roof, and her tongue is so sharp and so long that she can truly drill a hole into the roof.
Ew.
And send her tongue down, and her whole body just stays up on the roof. Her tongue makes the trek inside and wriggles down to the sleeping person. And if it's a pregnant woman, which is one of the targets that they often go after, the tongue, which is said to be hollow and fine and sharp like a needle, will puncture the womb and suck out the fetus. If they're not a pregnant victim, they suck the blood from their victim until they die.
Jeez, crow. This is awful.
And then
I feel like we're going to put some trigger warnings in the description. And maybe at the top of this.
Should I say something for us to put in earlier?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
This thing is a horrible creature. Also,
it's a horrible creature.
As you were describing it perched on top of the roof, it brought me back to our campfire stories episode where Ed came on and remembered seeing, I think he described it as some sort of like goblin-like creature on the roof of his neighbor's house.
Yes.
A little concerning.
It is. If it's not Santa on the roof, don't trust it. Okay. So if the victim is male, the Manananggal will sometimes seduce the man into a remote or private place and then eat them alive, saving the liver, stomach, and heart for last because those are her favorite.
Ooh. It does seem like the most nutritious parts. If we were going to talk about the human body.
She's all about health.
Right, exactly. She's got to stay fit.
Yes.
Got to keep her wings healthy.
Mm-hmm. Protein.
Mm-hmm.
She often leaves her victims with deformed faces and bodies, which is terrifying.
I know. This is just...
There are ways around getting your vital organs, face, blood, and body eaten by a Manananggal.
Okay.
And if you're paying attention like Corinne was, remember how I told you that the Manananggal has to leave their lower part of the body in a secret place in order to go hunting? Well, that is for self-protection because when sunrise comes, kind of similar to a vampire, the Manananggal must reconnect with the lower portion of their body. If they don't or they cannot, they will die. So you can kill the Manananggal by attacking the lower half of their body. If you happen to stumble upon, a pair of legs just standing by themselves in the middle of the woods, or if you are in search of the lower half of the Manananggal, it is said to rub salt and ash or garlic all over its exposed flesh. Again, similar to a vampire, garlic and sunlight are the Manananggal's weaknesses. If the lower half of the body has garlic, ash, and salt rubbed on it, the Manananggal will not be able to reconnect, and so then it will be destroyed when the sunlight touches them.
The unfortunate part of this is The chance that someone happens upon the body, given that it's hidden away, makes me think that you wouldn't actually find, the chances of finding it are very, very low, unless there were already enough victims where people are like, we have to actively go search. So there's still many, the death toll is high.
So my next sentence, if seeking out the lower half of a Manananggal is not up your alley, then you can also protect yourself in your own home by keeping small pots of uncooked rice, ash, or salt around the home. Those, along with vinegar, spices, daggers, and the tail of a stingray turned into a whip, very specific, are said to keep away Manananggals. But so that's the legend of the Manananggal. But I wanted to talk more specifically about like their origin and their meaning in the grander scheme of things in the Philippines and just like societal standards, because I feel like oftentimes with, you know, with legends and cryptids and there's certain stories, they often come out of something else. So there was this article that credited the book Aswang and Other Kinds of Witches, a comparative analysis by Kathleen Nadeau. And in the book, Nadeau looks at the root of the aswang, which is evil spirits, and how in the Philippines, women used to hold, and still do, but they held important roles like shaman priestesses, mediums, healers, midwives, etc. in ancient times. And that was before colonization. They also had some level of sexual freedom. So when Europeans came and were colonizing these areas, they basically were like, this is not what we're used to. And they sought to change standards to fit what their mold and like their idea was. So some people believe that they actually manipulated the story of the Manananggal to instill fear. So changing women witches from like this positive, high-powered position and like with women with sexual freedom into this idea of something with wings like the devil and being able to separate from the torso, which if you think about it, the idea of separating from your torso is like kind of separating from your reproductive organs, which is symbolizing separating women from sexual freedom.
Yes. It's powerful. Did you ever watch New Girl?
Yes, I love New Girl.
Every time I hear a story like this, or just really most history, I always insert in my mind the clip where Schmidt goes, "A white man? No!" Because I feel like that's applicable in most history.
Yes. And
Right.
so much. And again, it's just like a story of like white man enters the chat and is like, I don't understand what's happening here. Let me course correct to just make you fit my mold of what things should be.
And now we have this terrifying creature from the Philippines.
Yes. But so this is all to say that the Manananggals and the legend around them, it's believed that there's been some manipulation to like what they were meant to be or what they are now, from what they are now. And it was just like used to instill fear of women specifically. But the legend of the Manananggal is still very much real and present in the Philippines. And women who experience miscarriages or stillborn births actually sometimes blame a Manananggal. And I think it's a coping mechanism to deal with the pain and the loss and the sorrow. There's actually a town in the Philippines that recorded a higher rate of miscarriages in 1992 that the whole town grew very superstitious and no pregnant woman would go out after dark in the village. Many
tough.
Filipinos agree it's most likely a legend, a superstition that they would follow just in case. But there are also so many people who have claimed to see the creature themselves. And I have a couple stories.
Ooh, okay.
One woman said she saw a Manananggal while she was pregnant. She saw the tick-tick bird and sprinkled the entire house with salt. She looked out the window and saw the Manananggal flying away. Scary. But the largest story actually occurred in 1992 as well. It was a few weeks before 1992 Philippine presidential election. The town of Tondo, Manila, became worldwide news because of the rumors of a Manananggal roaming the vicinity. So a resident of this town, Martina Santa Rosa, reported being attacked by a Manananggal. And she went on record saying, "She attacked me. I was just lucky I was able to get free. I saw half of her body. It was naked. She had long, scraggly hair, long arms, nails, and sharp fangs." It became a sensation and everyone in the town was terrified, obviously. Another resident, Alfonso Bernardo, said he saw the creature fly away from Martina's house. And then this whole town gets together, and it's kind of a little bit like a witch hunt, and accuses a neighbor, Teresita Beronqui, of being the Manananggal. And so a group of men and TV crews go and confront the woman on May 13th of 1992. They knock on her door. And Teresita's this like frail old woman. She's just like frightened. And she's like, "I swear I'm not the Monongal." She actually apparently was a victim of the Monongal herself. She shows her foot, which has like toes missing. And she said that like the Monongal attacked her and took her toes. And the men who were at her door had her touch the tail of a stingray, because apparently, like I said, like if you keep a tail of a stingray used as a whip, it will keep away the Manananggal. So they have her touch this to make sure that she's not the Manananggal. She touched it. Nothing happened. And she was acquitted. So I don't know what happened after that. But
if only everyone else that were ever, I mean, being accused of being a Manananggal or being accused of being a witch in how we know it to have happened in previous centuries, it's so devastating. But I'm just glad that in this case, there is the opportunity to prove that you're innocent by touching this tail. Whereas here in the Americas, in the United Kingdom, and a lot of Europe, it was just like, hey, let's stick you at the bottom of this stream. And if you drown, you're human, but you're already dead. So it's proof you die innocent, but you're dead.
But you're dead. Yeah. Yes.
It's very unfair. So I'm glad that there's at least this.
Me too.
But
so
I don't want the stingrays to be hunted for this purpose.
I know. Sad. So the presence of the Manananggal is felt throughout the Philippines. I still, after doing all this research, have no idea what Kim saw in wanting to date one, because I don't.
I know. It was just like, what's the weirdest, strangest, wildest cryptid I can think of? It's this.
To end this story, I'm going to leave you with a photo, which is a potential photo of a Manananggal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this was... Okay, well, first, I'll show you just the photo.
I'm like already hunching over, getting ready to...
So do you see the circle in the window?
Oh.
Okay, but it's like...
Oh, it's kind of hard to see over the screen, but we should have our editor, Aiden. We'll send you this photo for you to add in so that we can...
I really want you to see it, Corinne, because it's like...
Okay, wait.
It kind of looks like...
Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no.
Right?
Ew, I have the heebie-jeebies. Ew.
I have a heebie-jeebies. I like that.
Okay. It almost looks like... gross. It looks like the whole face is scrunched together. And the nose almost looks like a pig nose, but the nose has teeth. The mouth has these jagged teeth. And then the eyeballs are huge and they look reptilian, don't they?
Yeah.
It's so
It
creepy.
could also be just like an entity. Whatever it is, it's something caught on camera there and it's scary.
I've noticed when we record and I get really scared, my back gets so cold and I don't know why. But it's like all my chills just goes to my back. I hate that. I hate that.
Now I have a blanket with me just in case.
Yes. Oh, that is gross. There are a few photos that we've seen that have really haunted me. One was sent by a listener where I can't remember if it was like her ex-boyfriend's mom took the photo, but someone took a photo at the kitchen table
window?
Of the reflection of the demon that was standing behind her in the window. That one and this one. And the photo booth photo too. Those three. I feel like, yes, when I look at those photos, it feels like you're not supposed to be looking.
In the next encounters, I have a photo to show you, and it's
real bad. Okay.
It's, scary.
Oh my gosh. I'm looking forward to it. This is wild. The Philippines is a crazy place when it comes to the paranormal.
Yeah, and I feel like they just have so many beliefs and so many legends and so much lore that's a part of their culture that the ghosts are very active there is all I will say.
Isn't it the Philippines where one of our listeners told us during campfire stories that
when the karaoke was happening next door?
Oh, no, but yeah, that's awesome. No, I was thinking about when you're supposed to throw the lemons at demons. Isn't that a practice in the Philippines? Was that there?
I believe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to come out with all the stops, you know? It's a haunted ass place. So you got to do whatever you can do. Truly.
Yeah. Whatever you have handy. What did you choose for your birthday episode, Corinne?
Okay. I was so excited. I chose the Fresno Nightcrawler or Nightcrawlers. And so I'm wearing some of our new merch. And by the time this episode comes out, we will have retired all of our old merch, put out all of our new merch. And one of the merch items that we put out was a cryptid cluster shirt, similar to the ghost cluster that we had, but now there's a cryptid cluster. And we had originally asked Lindsay, who designed it for us, to add a Nightcrawler. So there's a Nightcrawler in our... Isn't there? I swear in our cryptid cluster we added.
Okay, so this is the one that you had said, oh, let's add a Nightcrawler. And I was like, what is a Nightcrawler? And you're like, just you wait.
Yeah, because they're just, I mean,
are they like the kind of like oblong looking, like long bodies?
Yeah,
little
it looks
arms.
like a chicken, like a wishbone wrapped in a tissue paper. That's what it looks like. It's very, very silly. But it was so interesting. So I was like, I need to do more research into this. So that is what we're about to learn about. Okay. So in Fresno, California, a man named Jose was woken up to his dogs barking one night. It was a dark and stormy night. And so taking precaution, Jose decided against going outside to investigate and instead checked the security tape. So his family had recently installed a security camera over the garage door because they were concerned about theft and intruders because the dogs had been barking every night in recent past. So they were like, something's going on and we don't want to obviously put
What year
ourselves.
is this?
This was 2007, I believe.
I was going to say, so this is recent.
This is pretty recent, yes.
Okay.
Old and long ago enough where security camera footage was crap. But recent enough where it exists on video camera. And people had personal at-home surveillance. So the dogs are barking in the middle of the night. Jose gets up and he goes to check the footage. And he wakes up his brother, explaining that the dogs are alerting to something. And together, Jose and his brother go and they watch the tape back. What they saw has puzzled people for the last decade. A figure moved slowly across the yard, but this figure was not human. It was sort of mostly made up of leg. It was like the Chrissy Teigen of cryptids. All leg, baby. But this figure, it moved slowly across the yard. It had 3-foot tall legs that led up to a small bulbous body, and the creature appeared to be armless. It moved now quickly through the yard, taking some wide, rigid steps, and as it moved, it appeared cloth-like, with this fabric-looking skin that wrinkled and rippled with each step. Its body,
I don't know why.
white.
I think because you said Chrissy Teigen and like really long legs and like the way it takes like large steps, I'm just imagining like a really like elegant runway walk.
Oh, yes.
And you were also doing like a little hip thing. So I was like.
Yes. It's very the Chrissy Teigen Family Guy caricature.
You had a fan on and like it blow in the wind.
Right. Yeah. I'm also thinking of like Patrick Star from SpongeBob with his sexy fishnets. You know, it's giving that, you know.
It's a vibe.
It is. When you watch the video back, you're kind of like, that's freaking cool. But also then you have to realize what the hell is this? This is actually terrifying. It's in my backyard.
Did you watch the video?
Yes.
Okay. I need to do this. I will do it afterwards.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if we can like legally insert it in this video.
Yeah, show it.
We'll do research, but
maybe add the link.
Yeah, we should do that. There's a ton of YouTube videos. You know what? We'll do it on TikTok. No one can get in trouble on TikTok, right?
Yeah, that's how it works. We'll just delete
we'll
it
just take the
something
video down.
happens.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this whole thing is super pale white. So it literally looks like a sheet. And I think Jose himself had described it as like a walking pair of pajama pants. Like that's what it looked like to him. So rewinding the tape a little bit further, there's another creature, similar in shape and size, basically a replica of the one that was before, but it moved through the yard just before this one that had kind of bound through the yard, but it's barely moving. It's moving very slow, almost gliding across the yard. So you don't see like the big, wide, rigid steps that you did with the second creature. And the reason I first started with the creature that I spoke about first is because this video has been not altered, but like it's been spread around so many times that it's been shortened to this clip of just the second creature that's walking with a wide gait. But there were originally two creatures in the original video. So Jose then grabs a camcorder. Why? I don't know. I don't know if it's just that he was nervous that the tape was going to be rewritten. If it I have no idea. But he videotapes the recorded security footage that his video over the garage captured of these creatures.
It's just extra documentation, I guess.
Extra documentation. The problem being is that this is the only footage we now have. Well, I'll tell you in a minute. So we don't have the original tape.
Okay.
So Jose, he grabs the camcorder, he records the security footage playing on his television, and then notifies the police because there's an intruder in the backyard, whether it's alien or not. Somebody's here.
It's still something. Yeah.
There's still something. So the police are notified. They come to investigate what Jose believed to be an alien in his yard. And he and his brother went outside and they noticed some small footprints. But the wet ground had basically removed all traces of this creature by the time, minutes later, the police had come to investigate. The footage was then given to the police and the media. The footage being the one from the camcorder, not the footage from the actual security camera.
Doesn't that feel like the police should have taken the original footage too?
It does feel like that. And I'm assuming that the tape did record because in order for Jose to be there with a camcorder videotaping the security footage, you would assume that he truly did rewind the tape to watch back. What are the chances he's there with a camcorder taping
at the exact time it's happening?
Exactly. So we'll see. A local TV station that he sent it to was like, we don't know if this is fake or not. What do we do with it? So they called Victor Camacho, who ran a late night paranormal radio show, who's basically like sort of the local Art Bell coast to coast AM radio station. And he also had some video expertise. So they call thinking that Victor can offer up his thoughts on what this thing is, what's going on, if the video is doctored at all. So Victor agrees to come in. He watches the footage and he questions Jose about it. But Jose is just a little weirded out. He freaks out. He doesn't really say that much. And the TV station doesn't give Victor a copy of the tape to examine either. So Victor's left without really a real chance of verifying the authenticity of this experience or the footage. So the TV station eventually goes, oh, well, it's a slow day, decides to air it on TV. And it becomes an internet sensation. The creatures are given the name the Fresno Nightcrawlers, which totally sounds like a serial killer name, doesn't it?
I honestly, when you said that, I was like, that for sure is a serial killer name.
Totally. Well, because it sounds like the Night Stalker, right? It's like Richard Romero, the Night Stalker, or the original Night Stalker, also known as the Golden State Killer.
I think I also think of the movie The Nightcrawler, which is like a very twisted psychological film, like thriller, and he chases crime. So it already, in my mind, has the connection.
Right. Well, I mean, alien or not, it is a crime to trespass. So these are criminals. Yes, cryptid criminals, baby. Here they are.
Oh, Criminal Cryptid.
Yes.
That's our new TV show.
Criminal Cryptid. I love it.
Okay.
We're going to do it. Add it to the list. So Jose sees the footage being aired that he gave over to the TV station, and he calls Victor himself. And he goes, what's going on? Does this mean you know more about the creatures? What did you find? Basically, like, let me know. These things were in my backyard. And
help me.
Radio station or the TV station hasn't called me to say anything. So yeah, he was just like, yeah, help me out. I don't know what's going on. I'm in the dark. And Victor's like, wait, no, I don't know anything. The TV station just aired it. So they get to talking. Jose realizes that Victor doesn't actually have a copy of the tape. So he gives Victor a copy. So Victor is now able to analyze the footage further. He takes the footage to the 2008 MUFON Symposium, which is the Mutual UFO Network. And it's a very serious event, and nobody knows what it is. The footage is looked at, and no one has an answer. Oddly, around the same time in Fresno, these tall wooden sculptures with long legs and small faces at the top are discovered in the area. Originally, people...
Sculptures? Like wooden?
Sculptures. It literally looks like the cryptid, but made out of wood.
Like someone's created them.
Yes. So then the
or
rumors...
They're just working on self-portraits in the woods.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Maybe they start out as the wooden creatures, and then at night, similar to the Manananggal, they turn into the actual being that walks around. And then they freeze again at night into their wooden state of being. I love that you're just getting all cozy in your blanket.
I'm just a floating head.
You kind of look like them now. Because
I look like them?
They are white, and they are basically made of a sheet. So that's essentially what it is. It's kind of like an alien version of a ghost in a sheet.
Oh my gosh. Love it.
The rumors are starting, and everyone's like, what the heck are these sculptures? So people are lying, basically, and saying, oh yeah, these can be found all over California. The native people believe that these creatures are earth fairies and that they come from the sky and they're alien-like and they arrived many centuries ago. And so these sculptures were made by the native people in this region in California and all over the state. And that these aren't really bad or scary creatures, but they actually bring good luck. And then other people speculated that the creatures have always been here, that they predated humans, and that they live in swampy, boggy areas, hence their long legs. Which it's just
because they can traverse the swampy terrain.
So they can give a little fashion show to the fishies. Look at my legs.
The fish is just nibbling on their long legs and cleaning all the little bacterias off of
Cannibalism. They can tread for hours. No, okay. Basically, it's all just totally not true. It was a lie.
Okay.
It just so happened to be that there was what's believed is that a local DMV had commissioned an artist to make sculptures for the land outside of the building. And it just so happened that the artwork looked a lot like the Fresno Nightcrawler that was on the video. But everyone was
think
like,
that then that artist probably has been visited by the Nightcrawler? Like, what if...
the inspiration.
Here's the thing. What if they are alien-like species and this artist who was commissioned had been abducted by them in the past and they were commissioned to make this art, and what came out of their mind was it was a subconscious memory of these creatures.
I believe it. 100%.
Me too.
What are the chances that they're in the same area, right?
Yeah.
In the same state, I should say. Suspicious.
Suspicious.
Very. Awfully. Okay. So it's not true. Potentially DMV or subconscious of the artist having been abducted by the Nightcrawler. Mm-hmm. So while some people decided to plant maybe some fake evidence and to add to the lore, there are plenty more encounters that contribute to the very real possibility that there's nothing fake about these Nightcrawlers. In March of 2011, caretakers at Yosemite National Park put up cameras to crack down on vandalism and attempt to capture the people who were doing the wrongdoings and trashing the park at night.
Okay.
What they captured were two creatures very similar to the ones in Jose's backyard, one much taller than the other.
Oh.
And appearing to be Nightcrawlers. It basically looked exactly like it. Just one was little and one was big. And some people were convinced, like, these are aliens. Other people were terrified that these things were clearly becoming more active because now, for the second time, we're capturing them on footage. And then some people were
they do seem like they are causing, like, a ruckus. Like, they're kind of just messy creatures who just...
I guess they're just wandering wherever they want.
Yeah. Trespass everywhere.
They're just, they're clearly trespassers. That's their thrill of the night. The Nightcrawler trespassers. No, but some people were like, this footage is actually so adorable. Ooh, there's a seaplane. There's a seaplane. I feel like when we were in California,
I went to look out my window. I went to look out my window as if I would see what you're seeing.
Yeah. So cool.
I wish.
But some people were like, this is so, so cute. Look, it's basically like a parent Nightcrawler and the baby because the one was much, much smaller. So they're like, oh, how adorable. And then people are like, no, this is really scary. Yeah. We do not know what this is. So then in 2014, a 60-year-old man is driving in Carmel, Ohio. And when driving over a hill by the Carmel church, he's shocked to see a very tall 7-foot gray creature run across the road. An alien, he thought. And when he was home, he told his wife, and his wife told investigators, quote, my husband saw it. He's a skeptic, almost 60 years old, and a proud Marine. He wouldn't have admitted to seeing it if he hadn't been in shock. I had him draw it for me when he got to the house. He says it was this asphalt gray. Our asphalt is gray. Oh. And about 7 feet tall. No arms that he could see, but muscular in the leg area. No jawline. And its legs were bent backwards and it leaned forward as it ran. Which is gross that the legs are going backwards. It's like bending.
Oh, ew.
Opposite. Oh. Very bird-like.
Yeah. So interesting.
It is.
I also think it's so fascinating that we as humans, to understand things, give them names and like try to make sense of them. So we give them qualities and like behaviors. Mm-hmm. But what if they have their own names? Like I think about that with Bigfoot too. Like we call it Bigfoot because they are supposedly have big feet. But what if they actually go by totally different names?
Fran.
George.
Oh my God, I was about to say George. Shit, I should have said it. But then you started talking, so I stopped myself. We were about to say George together. Shit. Oh, I hate that.
You did it. So I believe
it's the proof is there.
You all saw it.
You saw it. We're not lying here. Okay. So, and also this guy's a Marine too. So, I mean, not to say that someone who's a Marine can't lie or fib or make up something. But again, it's that sort of, there's that people look to people in positions like that to be like the ultimate truth tellers and the ones least likely to come forward with some wild tale of a creature alien they saw running across the street. And he'd lived 60 years without saying anything like that. So these two, what also contributes to potentially this being completely a true encounter is that they did not make their identity public. They just did their witness reports with the investigators and the police, but they have been completely silent about who they actually are. And they did say that there were some odd things happening around their home leading up to this encounter. They had recently bought a place in the Fort Hill area, and a month into living there, the couple noticed in their front yard that there was a perfect circle of grass that stayed green no matter what.
Crop circles.
Right? Crop circles. I was very much like fairy ring-esque. Crop circle. Yes, 1000%. There's something going on.
Yes.
So people in the area began to call this the Carmel area creature. So again, it's been given another name, even though it's technically the same creature. It was tall, thin, armless, and white, pretty much the exact same description as the Fresno Nightcrawler that ventured across Jose's yard. Mm-hmm. And so these three accounts become very widely known. So Jose's encounter, the Yosemite National Park encounter, and then this Marines encounter. Bless you. There are several articles and videos on them, But as more sightings began to appear, though sporadic, researchers began to connect the dots on some older cases as well, realizing that the first time the Nightcrawler was seen was definitely not in Jose's yard. Researcher Albert S. Rosales found an old report from January 24th, 2004 that sounded eerily similar to the Fresno Nightcrawler, but this time it was in Manchester, Indiana at 7:30. So this thing is all over the place. It doesn't matter where it is.
It's popping around.
It's all over.
Bopping around.
Yeah, which aliens can do, you know? They don't have to drop down in the same spot.
Jealous.
So at 7:30 p.m., a 17-year-old kid is driving when his headlights catch a figure to the right of his car, crouched down over a puddle of water. The figure looked thin, pencil thin, he said. And the boy drives past the figure, looks in the rearview mirror as the his taillights, illuminate the being, which is now standing, and it looks to be over 6 feet it looks to be over 6.5 feet tall with, quote, protruding joints and moved very strangely, end quote.
The protruding joints thing is weird.
Yeah, it's like the bent
I imagine it like cracks.
Knees.
Like every time it moves, it like cracks.
Yeah. And also if you watch the videos back, I'll send you some videos too. It looks painful. It doesn't look like a easy, natural way to move about your space.
They
It's
just
awkward.
need a massage.
I know.
They have a lot
They're
of
poor joints.
tension in their joints.
For how flowy their skin is, you'd think they'd be a little bit more loose. But no.
Loosey-goosey.
Loosey-goosey. So he described the joints as buckled out, which again coincides with the reports of the knees being backwards and just kind of like these videos that we have seen of the Nightcrawlers. And the teenager, he watches as the creature walks towards the woods. He says he couldn't make out any eyes or a face, but felt like the creature was looking right at him. So he felt as if they were acknowledging one another. So
it's like when shadow figures,
yes,
you just know they're looking at you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't make out any features, but you know that there's
Don't love that.
mutual eye contact, or I don't even know what you call it if things don't have eyes, but your consciousness is being, and your being is being perceived. You're being perceived.
Yeah.
So a few seconds pass. Basically, he drives past this thing, sees it in the rearview mirror, and then it's like, holy shit. He's in shock. He pulls to the side of the road, and then he looks out the back down the straight road, watching where the creature was and where he thought that it had gone into the woods. So he can't make out if the creature is potentially still there or if it had dipped into the woods, but he's just sitting there intently observing that spot for a few moments. Then another car comes into view, and it's coming down the road, about to drive by the exact spot where the kid has just had his sighting. And as the car approaches, it suddenly swerves as if it's trying to not hit something. It's avoiding something in the road, on the side of the road. The car regains control, pulls to the side of the road just behind this kid, and an older couple is in their car, and the man speaks out to the teenager in a worried voice and goes, "Boy, did you see something back there? I'll tell you right now, that was no person." And then the woman says, "It's no human being. It's no man." And they are flustered. So
the acting.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The couple and the teenager, now equally spooked, decide to drive together down the road, even though they technically were going opposite ways. But they drive together to a more public area because they're fearful of this creature. Within an hour of the encounter, the reality of what this teenager had seen finally hit him, and he became hysterical, describing the alien that was on the side of the road.
Oh my gosh.
The next encounter I read about, I read on mysteriousuniverse.org from an article titled Bizarre Accounts of the Pale Crawlers. So yet another nickname.
Another name. Yeah.
A farmer was feeding her goats in Davie, Indiana. So again in Indiana, which is the same spot where the teenager had seen these pale crawlers, these night crawlers. It was the summer of 2016. It was around 8 p.m. And when she finished feeding her goats, she started to make her way back home. She said, quote, "After I'd finished, I began to walk back. I'd crossed one field and was about halfway through the narrow path when I started to hear a rustling in the underbrush. All I had with me was a little flashlight that had only shined about 10 feet in front of me. I was almost to the end of the path when I spotted something. It was on all fours with a bony frame, elongated limbs, and pale skin. She described
fours.
its neck as long and flexible. And then again, quote, said, "Not long after seeing it, it noticed me and bolted down the path. It ran, almost scuttling into the second field. And then she sprinted on a zigzagging manner back to her house and locked all of her doors." So this one's an odd one. And it almost reminds me a little bit of the rake. It's associated with a nightcrawler.
Right.
But this one maybe has arms.
That's what's hard is like, how do you know, especially because there's no photographic evidence of a lot of these. Like, how do you know it's the nightcrawler, not the rake, or it's not some other completely different entity that, you know, we haven't discovered yet?
Exactly. It is difficult. Yeah. Without getting the actual evidence or without putting a picture in front of someone and saying, "Is this what you saw? Is this video?"
Now I'm imagining like a cryptid lineup. Like,
yes.
You know, you go
oh my gosh, the police lineup. Who did you see?
Which one was it?
They're all in the room, like twiddling their thumbs, like, shit, I hope they don't recognize me. It's like,
yeah.
Well, you're pretty obvious, you know. You don't look like that many other cryptids out there. The haunted
It's like
lineup.
3 humans, 3 cryptids. It's like, which one was it?
It's just all guys with
normal.
like
look like a human,
fake
look like
mustaches,
a human.
and then just the one
in a
cryptid,
disguise.
Just, yeah.
I'm picturing it so perfectly.
I know, me too. It's good. If only we had the artistic abilities to create this lineup. The cryptid
Someone like
lineup.
to animate this.
Yes, it's so good. Okay, so there are several paranormal investigators and experts who have examined the evidence and tried to debunk the footage captured and question the many reports from witnesses. The footage of the 2 creatures from Yosemite, apparently, experts say, it is very easily created with CGI, and it's considered now to be fake. The first tape from Jose's yard, well, we aren't really sure. Fact or faked was unable to debunk it, but Phil Poling made a pretty convincing replica on his YouTube channel, Para Breakdown, that suggests similar movement could be created with a fishing hook, fishing line, and a bed sheet. And a few other videos have surfaced over the years, many too grainy to make out, and others clear fakes. Specifically for Jose's, it's really, really difficult to know because he took the video on a camcorder of the actual video, which was then given to the TV station and then compressed or whatever, broadcast, and then it's just been passed around again, and then it was brought to the symposium, and it's just the actual tape that we have now has gone through many iterations of being shared. Yeah. And so we don't have the original.
And none of them are the original.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we don't know if it's real, if it's fake in terms of the evidence, but a lot of people without evidence seem to be spotting these night crawlers. What we can't dispute is how many people in the US have had encounters, some even in Europe. And so whether the Fresno Nightcrawlers exist or not is up for debate for some, but we believe. And
100%.
And we believe in them enough that we put them on a shirt.
That's true.
Yes. We believe in you.
And even if they're not the same cryptid in all of these sightings, like there's something out there that looks like this, and it might be an alien. We don't know.
No.
But the possibility of it existing for me is very high.
Yes. And I'm curious, once you see the footage, what you'll think, because anytime you capture something, whether it be a person or a strange animal or potentially an unidentified cryptid being, it's scary because you don't know what it is, but at the same or why they're there. Like, why are they walking through your backyard?
What do they want?
But as far as cryptids go, I would argue that these are the cutest ones. They're so adorable. They seem so kind. Like, they just seem like they're there. Like, they're just little goldfish just walking
gallivanting around.
La, la, la. There's
What's
no
this
stories
over here.
Right. And I mean, they're scuttling away. They're running away from people if they are captured.
Yeah.
So it's not like, or captured, if they are seen. So it's not like they're doing
they're not
any
trying
harm.
to hurt people.
No, they're not like the Manananggal at all.
All right. Well, now I need to watch a video of them because I'm very curious what they look like.
Okay, wait. I'm gonna send you one right now.
Oh,
they're kind of
It's
cute,
like-
right?
yeah. It kind of reminds me of like the guys outside the car washes,
Oh yes, those. What are they? The
but
like
without the arms.
little wavy floats. Yes,
Yeah, I
whatever
don't know
those
what they're
things
called,
are. The
but
wavy
yeah.
mans.
The wavy mans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
like that's like the same movement. They kind of like.
Yeah, it's kind
Blowing
of
with the
odd.
wind.
Somewhat, it's like a clunky gracefulness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like it
Yeah.
would be as a human difficult to walk like that, but
Yeah.
it's interesting to watch.
It is very interesting to watch. Wow.
So those are the Nightcrawlers. Now you
Fascinating.
know about the
Now you
cryptid
know.
on our shirt.
But wasn't it like Mike's super short show? Didn't they end it with like, now you know, or something like that?
And now, maybe. I'm sure. All of those
I don't
things
know.
are lost in my brain. They're deep in there somewhere.
I was gonna say, I feel like those are all the things that you know and remember very well. but-
Can
Not me.
recite all of the Amanda show and most things from YouTube, and Ned's
Yeah.
Declassified. But alas, here we are.
But alas, here we are.
Talking about
And
cryptids.
I have a listener story from Michael, and it is called Alien Test / Government Program.
Ooh. Did you see
Hey,
this in the
ghostesses.
email and steal it really fast? Because I feel like if I had ever seen that title, I would have snagged it.
I must have. Yes. Hey, ghostesses. I'm Michael. He, him. And boy, do I have a story for you. Growing up, I always had this memory that my family never remembered, although I absolutely knew it happened. It basically starts like this. On a summer day when I was really young, a lady was walking me down a sidewalk near a busy road. I was kind of nervous, but I was okay with it because she reminded me of Mary Poppins.
Aw.
She had a parasol and she twisted it around in front of us while she explained that in the past, women used them as a sign of status. I was again super young, so I didn't really get it. Soon, we got to a huge white facility, and this is where it gets odd. She walked me in and then left, leaving me with 2 or 3 other kids in a waiting room-like area. My memory cuts out a bit after that point, but I do remember people taking some kids away from the room. After they took the kids, I was taken into a room, laid on a dentist-like chair, and asked random questions like, can you recite the alphabet? And told to do jumping jacks and stuff.
What?
After that, I was taken to a dark room where someone put those painful hospital sticker brainwave things on my forehead. And that's all I remember of the place. Except for being taken out by my mother with a flower stuffed animal, and I specifically remember asking for the next few weeks if I had lice because my head had been shaved and I didn't know why. Now I have a terrible fear of hospitals, especially because I've had to be legally tested on several times after that. I've had these memories for the longest time, and I still have no idea what it was, and my family doesn't remember it, and it really reminds me of Stranger Things now. Anyway, keep it spooky, ladies, with ghost schools and no regards for the rules. Michael.
Okay, this is very the Montauk Project. This is very Stranger Things,
Mhm.
right? The shaving of the
Yeah.
head and everything. And for
Yeah.
Michael's parents to not remember either. Part of me was like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, maybe this is a memory of a past life. But no, this feels very different. Part of me is like, is this an alien abduction? And the aliens have just morphed and chosen their human figures. And it's kind of like they get to play costume dress up. And so the one alien is like, I'm going to do the parasol one that they used to do. And
Oh, I thought you were going to say that like Michael's parents are aliens and that's why they're saying that they don't remember this.
no.
But
but maybe.
the one thing that is hard for me to wrap my mind around is I 100% believe it was some alien test of some sort. But the fact that Michael's head was shaved afterwards and remembers like that's such a physical change that
I know, that is weird.
Michael's parents should have some memory of that at least. unless he had shaved his head for some other reason during like that time period and he's connecting the two memories. But
right. Or it's also, I mean, when you're a younger kid, I think every kid gives a haircut a go at some point, like a self haircut.
It's true.
So maybe maybe Michael had just been so fuzzy when coming back from it that the parents were like, oh my God, what did you do? You cut your own hair. And so that's their memory of it. And Michael wasn't able to contest what had actually happened because he was just coming out of this kind of fuzz. Or maybe it's one of those things where it's like the human brain fills in gaps where information is missing. So maybe his parents just filled in the missing information, and so it doesn't stand out as this really odd thing for them anymore.
Can you recite the alphabet?
It's so weird, like the test that they have to do in the beginning. It's very Stranger Things.
There's a bunch of moments he doesn't remember.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean... Aliens or just, I mean, could be some sort of government experiment. I mean, that's like a symptom of trauma. Is not remembering.
Yeah, that's
big
true.
gaps.
Not remembering.
It
is so fascinating to me because, like, you know, in Men in Black, the government has like the thing that like erases memories. And there's part of me that, like, you know, there's a rational side that's like, oh, there's no way that exists. But then there's a part of me that I'm like, no, that shit exists.
Yes. I feel like
our
it's
memories
hard.
are being erased all the time.
I mean, it could be. Here's the thing. There's been a lot of things in the past where we're like, that seems impossible. That's way too futuristic. Or there's no way that could ever exist in the world without people knowing. And yet things come out. We're surprised all the time.
All the time.
If you're open to things, if you believe in everything, you'll never be surprised.
That is a great way to live your life.
Just like, oh, okay. That's the key to adaptability. Just always prepare for everything. And then just be like, all right, I guess I'll go this direction now. I have an email from our listener, Debbie, and it's called Gargoyles Are Real. Just ask the one who's been following me for 18 years.
Oh.
Okay. Hi, Sabrina and Corinne. I've been sitting here for nearly an hour trying to think of a witty, fun, sweet, and all-around different way to tell you two that I so appreciate the pod and the safe space you've both created. I may have failed at the flattery part. No, definitely not. That was really nice. Thank you.
That was very nice.
We still read all of the compliments people give us because it makes us feel good.
It does make us feel good. And warm and fuzzy inside.
However, I promise I will not fail at the what the actual fuck part. I raised my hand in y'all's Campfire Stories 29. My name is Debbie. You can use my name. And Corinne, you tried bringing me up when I tried to unmute my mic. And all I heard was very loud static. Wait, this is Debbie. Remember that one time where I was like, oh, we're supposed to bring Debbie up again? I wrote bring Debbie up Gargoyle. And we couldn't, but here it is. Okay.
Okay, great.
I closed out of the... When you tried to bring me up a second time, again, static. I don't want to immediately say that this is paranormal, but I may have reasons to assume that it might be. When I was 14, I played with a Ouija board with my best friend, Becky. We made one ourselves using cardboard and one of her dad's shot glasses. We really didn't know much about the rules or what to do, and we put our fingers down on the shot glass and we began asking questions. Just basic things. Is there anyone here with us? What is your name? Does the afterlife suck? Etc. We got nothing. Not even the littlest movement. We got bored and a little frustrated, and we decided to stop playing. We grabbed a blanket, some snacks, and climbed on the roof through Becky's window like we usually did to look at the stars and talk about boys. When we sat on the roof, facing into Becky's backyard, her pool was off in the distance and was illuminated, giving off a very little light. Just below us are 2 garbage cans next to the gate. This is important. We lay back and we look at the sky. I immediately start to get a horrible sinking feeling in my stomach and overcome with what I can only describe as dread. I had never felt this feeling before in my life. Before I could say anything, Becky shoots up and I can sense something is not right. I sit up and I ask her what's wrong. And through a very shaken voice, she replies, "Do you see it?" I look forward into the backyard where she's pointing. At first, I see nothing. Becky, still pointing, frozen with fear, says, "Why are there 3 garbage cans?" I look down and I see it. 3 garbage cans. I know there were only 2 garbage cans. I passed them earlier that day as we were swimming. When we were swimming. Becky then says, "That's not a garbage can. It looks like it's breathing." Side note, this was in 2002. We did not have smartphones to shine a light onto whatever this thing was that we were looking at. That's when I hear it. The most guttural, deep growl. It was so loud, it felt... Yes, exactly. Leia's like, "Oh my God, what is that, Mom?" It was so loud, I felt its vibrations on top of the roof. I look at Becky, and she's still pointing, not moving, not reacting to anything that just happened. I didn't hear or feel anything, and she then said something is in the pool. I look up at the pool, and I see what looks to be the shape of a woman hovering above the pool.
Oh my God, so much is happening all at once.
It was too dark to make out any of the features, but the one thing that I noticed was her eyes. They were reflective, like that of an animal, just looking at me. I feel like I'm losing grip on reality, and I quickly jump up and tell Becky that we need to get the fuck out of Dodge. That's when I see it. Through a little sliver of moonlight, and my blood runs cold. A crouched figure next to the garbage cans with the features of what I can only describe as looking like a gargoyle. I book it back through the window and into Becky's room, Becky following directly behind me, and we slam the window shut, close the curtains, and just stand in the middle of the room staring at each other, trying to make sense of what we just saw. I asked Becky what she saw and what she thinks that was, and she said, "I know that this is going to sound crazy, but if you were to guess what a demon looks like, it would be that."
Yes.
She then said...
I was just going to say...
Right, especially because there's 2 creatures. It almost what makes me wonder, are there 2 creatures, or is this just a projection? Like, is the demon able to split itself in 2 and create these 2 terrifying things?
I mean, we've heard stories where, like, demons can, like, manipulate and have, like, hundreds of voices whispering in your ear at once. So, like, for sure.
Right?
Right?
Right. Because it's the classic demon move to try to alter your reality and separate you from any other witnesses that you're experiencing this paranormal encounter with at the same time. Okay. She then said it almost reminded her of a gargoyle that you would see on top of old churches. Becky said that she saw the movement in the pool but couldn't really make out what she was seeing. It was then that I realized that what I had seen in the backyard was real. My next encounter with this gargoyle was 5 years later in 2007. I was a senior in high school, and I was getting ready for school like I normally do every day. I was sitting at my vanity, buffing in an ungodly amount of bronzer into my face, and that's when I feel it, that deep feeling of dread. That same feeling I had on the roof of Becky's house. I look up at my vanity's mirror, and a face peeks out from behind my head. That's right. A face peeked out from behind my head. Now, I know what you're thinking. Debbie, this sounds oddly familiar. And yes, you are right. A similar thing happened in the 2010 movie Insidious. My experience happened 3 years prior to that movie. The face was
horrifying.
I know. The face was that of a woman who looks very badly burned. Her eyes were sunken in a very, very black. Her smile very wide.
I wonder if this is like the same woman figure that was hovering above the pool.
Oh my gosh. Maybe. Yeah, because it was so dark, they couldn't make out exactly the features of the woman, just knew that there were reflective eyes.
Right.
Her eyes were sunken in and very, very black. Her smile very wide, unnaturally wide. I immediately jump up and I look behind me. No one is there. My heart is racing out of my chest. I walk towards the door and it slams shut in front of me. I try to open the door, but it's as if someone is on the other side holding it closed. I'm home alone and no one is there to hear me yell or to bang to let me out. I ran to get my backpack to grab my phone, and that's when I hear the most disturbing cackle. I had never heard anything like it. It was as if it was mocking me. I grabbed my phone. I called my mom. But what had answered was not my mom. It was the same cackle. Ooh, I have chills. It was the same cackle on the other end. It was intensifying, getting louder.
Holding on to Lay.
and louder, and then it stopped. And then I heard a woman in a very angry voice yell, "I will take what is mine." I threw my phone down and once again ran for my door. Luckily, it opened and I made a beeline to the landing of my staircase and immediately stopped dead in my tracks. What, looking back at me from the bottom of the stairs, was that gargoyle. That same one I saw at Becky's years prior, clear as day. I ran to my parents' room and I locked the door and hid under the covers until my mom got home hours later.
Oh my gosh.
After that encounter, small things started to happen around the house. Knocks, whispering, very, very vivid, horrific night terrors. Things that would be moved in my room when I knew that they shouldn't have been. Cabinets would be opened and slammed. My pictures on the wall would be flipped around. The clanking of the hangers in my closet as if someone ran their fingers along them, etc. I learned to just ignore.
This is awful.
Literally, this is
nonstop.
This is almost reverse for what usually happens. And normally it's like little noises and creaks and knocking, and then it builds up to these encounters where you're actually seeing the creatures and hearing the creatures. But this was like,
it's just all happening.
Oh my God. Yeah. These odd occurrences happened in every house and apartment that I lived in. Some activity being dormant for months, years even. However, I noticed whenever I discuss the paranormal and acknowledge it, things really ramp up. Maybe that's why Debbie couldn't get on to Campfire Stories.
Oh.
Just getting blocked out.
Can't talk about it. Which makes me think that like something good is saying like don't talk about it because it's going to make it worse.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Just giving full static to try to prevent Debbie from, too late. Because Debbie emailed and now I'm reading it. My last encounter happened December 31st, Halloween, 2020. Oh. I was admitted to the hospital for severe chest pain and trouble breathing. I had a
Did you say December 31st and you just said Halloween?
Yeah. Halloween is on my mind. It's not October 31st. It was December 31st.
It took me a second to process that. I was like, I think you said December.
You're right. It was December. I just really want it to be Halloween. So I'm like, 31st of October? Of course, my favorite day.
Halloween.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no, it was New Year's Eve. I was admitted to the hospital for severe chest pain and trouble breathing. I had a nasty case of pneumonia due to COVID and my entire left lung filled with infectious fluid and none of the antibiotics were helping. That's when I had to have immediate surgery on my lung and have the fluids drained because the infectious fluid kept accumulating and my oxygen kept dropping. The night before my surgery, I had a dream. A terrible, terrible dream of a woman with a severely burnt face, black eyes, and an evil grimace. The same face of the woman that I saw behind my head all those years ago. She had her hands inside of my chest and she was squeezing. She said to me in the most evil voice that I wasn't going to wake up from the surgery and that she was going to make sure of it. And then that cackle. I woke up and was in sheer panic. I called my husband and told him everything, and he assured me everything would be okay, that the medication I'm on is probably just causing these dreams. No way. That dream felt so real, and it felt like she was in the room with me. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Fast forward to the surgery. I am laying on the operating table, talking to the surgeon and my anesthesiologist about the procedure, and the anesthesiologist puts the mask on me and tells me, "See you soon." My heart is pounding. All I can think about was the dream the night before.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I knew that was it. I felt tears welling, and right before I fell asleep, I looked over at the surgical techs folding something, then directly behind them, I see it. The gargoyle. Staring at me, and then I go to sleep. I wake up in the recovery room. I'm alive! The procedure that should have only taken 2 hours ended up taking 8 due to complications. Now I will leave you with this. What does the gargoyle symbolize? Well, I suppose it depends on who you ask. Guardianship and to ward off evil spirits, or malevolent and chaotic evil creatures? You decide.
Malevolent,
Debbie.
evil, chaotic creatures.
No one can say that this is guardianship after hearing this.
Okay, well, my question also is like, what about Becky? Is Becky being haunted by this thing too? Or is it just Debbie?
Oh, that's so interesting. Because they were friends in what, like
they
high
did
school?
It together.
So, right.
Yeah.
A lot of people lose touch after high school. You know, there's diverging paths and lives. And it's just natural that a lot of people lose touch. So I'm curious, now that you say that, if Becky and Debbie ever
and this
chatted
is another
after that?
example of why you don't play with Ouija boards.
Yep. I mean, this is almost 20 years later. It's definitely, again, it's coming up in this episode, but the way that this creature is described is reminding me of all of those pictures that we just talked about earlier that have haunted me forever, ever since we saw them. This sounds like that.
Yeah, but imagine living it. Like, we're just haunted by the photos.
Yes.
The idea of actually living this, it's a nightmare. It is a true nightmare. Debbie, I'm so glad you did wake up from that surgery.
Yeah.
I hate this entity.
It gets so close, too. The fact that it's behind her head in the mirror. It's not just in a dream. I mean, it'd still be horrifying for it to be in a dream or across the yard, but it can be any distance or any closeness in her waking life, in her sleeping life. It's terrifying.
I hate it. I also feel like the gargoyle and the woman are the same entity.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I truly believe that. I think it's just appearing in different shapes, and it really does seem demonic.
It does make me wonder. I mean, Debbie keeps describing it as a gargoyle. And it does make me wonder if maybe gargoyles are demons, or can Ouija boards open up to more than just the spirit realm like we talk about? Are other magical, mystical beings able to come through?
Well, in my studies of demons, which is very minimal, there is a lot of, they do look gargoyle-like.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can manipulate what they look like in order to, trick the person that they're targeting.
Yeah. And using a Ouija board, it is opening up a channel, a portal of sorts. So who knows where that portal starts or ends, It's a risk.
I hate it. I hate it
Me
so
too.
much.
Such a good one. Debbie, thank you for emailing that to us. I'm sorry you didn't get to.
So sorry you're dealing with it.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad actually that Debbie emailed it to us because, I don't think we would have ever stopped our Campfire Stories for saying all of this, but I'm glad we got all the details that we did. And I feel like sometimes when you're retelling a story in person, it's easy to forget some of those like juicy details that when you're writing, you can go back and be like, oh, this happened before that.
Get everything in it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Horrifying.
All right. Well, happy birthday, Corinne.
Thanks. Cannibalism and Cryptids, my favorite episode. Tasty.
Makes me hungry.
If only we had an ad to go into.
You know what this made me think of? Instead of how they have like dinosaur chicken nuggets?
Mm-hmm.
They should make Cryptid.
They should.
Chicken nuggets.
Oh, I wish we were a huge podcast where brands would want to partner us with stuff on that. Yeah, right. We're just two little indie girls.
We're just little podcasters.
We're just little tiny podcasters.
I'm just a baby.
It's just a baby. That's us.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Done.
She's like, time to eat.
Time to
I'm
eat.
done. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any encounters with cryptids or paranormal or anything creepy and strange and unusual, please email them to us at twogirlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com or either way, join us on Campfire Stories on Spotify Live every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and share them there.
We have merch. We have Patreon, we have social media, and we also have a brand new website which you can join to become a part of the pyramid scheme even further than Patreon or subscribing and rating and reviewing will get you, which is that you will get our newsletter. And the newsletter is something that only comes out when we have something to tell you. So it's not going to be spammy. We really will probably.
I was like, are we making a newsletter? I don't know what we're gonna do with that.
It will come out
like live shows and stuff.
Yeah, just stuff like that. So a few times a year, you'll probably get something in your inbox. Don't worry, there's not like a Dear Diary.
Unless you want it.
And then we'll have ghostwrite it because ain't nobody got time for that.
Because we don't have time for that. Thank you so much to Aiden Manning, Eric Foster, Max Lodian, and the entire team at Fire Digital for editing our podcast. We're very grateful for you. And we're on YouTube. Check us out. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us your favorite cryptid. Who would you want to go on a date with? All those things.
Comment below. That's your normal thing. Comment below. Well, we do hope to see you on the side, but if we don't, we will see you on the other side.